This is the Heavyist podcast. Let's go!
Yo, we're the Heavyist podcast. Welcome. We're about to have a chat about two fantastic new deathcore releases that you should absolutely be listening to if you're a fan of riffs.
It's Deathcore Week, my friends.
We've
got a couple of juicy bangers to chat about on the show this week. Oh, these are some juicy old boys as well, mate. I'm really been absolutely psyched on these records this week, dude.
Yeah, it's deathcore autumn right now for us, right?
It's the deathcore autumn of discontent. The leaves are falling, and so are the riffs. Let's talk about. I'll get straight into it, man. Kiora. I looked up. Apparently, that means hello in New Zealand. It's like a saying because.
It's not just a drink over here, wasn't it?
It's not just a drink. Yeah, it's not just a squash with a racist advert. No, it's an expression in New Zealand that they use. We're going to talk about Depths. They are a 5-piece deathcore band from a place called Palmerston North in New Zealand. This is actually their 5th studio album, but I've never come across them before in my life. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was surprised too, man. I did not know that they had such a catalogue, but the caliber of this record, absolutely, it doesn't sound like it's their first rodeo, mate. This thing goes.
Absolutely,
this thing was such a treat.
Yeah, this record is called Obsolescence, and it comes out on the 6th of September. Before we get into the actual record, I just wanted to have a little chat about the New Zealand metal scene, because I think it's something we've been investing a bit more time in the last few weeks and months. And I'll tell you what, I'm getting quite excited about the bands that we're coming out of New Zealand. I mean, obviously we talked about Ulcerate not too long ago. I like to think of Ulcerate are basically like the biggest band in New Zealand. Like, I imagine Jamie St. Moret trying to go to the supermarket and getting mobbed by fans, and he's basically like New Zealand's Taylor Swift. That's what I'm imagining in my head. If that's not true, then don't spoil it for me. Like, he's like hanging out on like yachts with Taika Waititi and the guys from Flight of the Conchords, and he's one of the most famous dudes. They're just chilling, drinking Cristal and watching the rugby. Like, they're just that's the life that they're living, right?
I like to think that he's about to come out with his own gin or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or a lifestyle 100%. Brand.
Cutting the throat of God and pouring it into a bottle. Here you go. That's what it should be called. But then also on top of Ulcerate, you've got like Blindfolded and Led to the Woods, who are absolutely sick. Love that band. Eye Eater that you brought up not too long ago, who are very, very cool. And then, do you remember Bridge Burner? They're another one who are also really, really cool New Zealand band. Like, there's a really good, badass, heavy music scene in New Zealand popping up. And Depths are definitely really part of that, like, that culture and that world. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, it must be something to, like, when we talk about Australia, just that kind of semi cut off from the rest of the world kind of existence, like how expensive it is to try and go anywhere else in the world when you live that far away and it's that long of a journey. You're just kind of forced to just sit and write badass riffs.
Yeah, I could like remortgage to go traveling, or I'm just going to write some massively hard riffs.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they opted for the latter and went for the riffs, man. Like, what are they feeding these people in this country apart from lamb? Obviously, they're obviously eating a lot of lamb because I think there's quite a lot of sheep. But I've also eaten a lot of lamb, and I can't write a riff this good to save my bloody life.
Yeah, dude, this is an absolute treat. This is they're going for it, mate. Like,
so cool, man. So cool.
I kind of thought I knew what I was in for with this. So I came across this. I think it must have been on Bandcamp. I found the single. Then I got hold of the band pretty swiftly and was like, your single's fantastic. Please, can I listen to your record? Because I'm sure the rest of it's going to be. And it absolutely took me back, mate. Because like I didn't know what I thought I was expecting. I thought I was expecting some sort of low and slow deathcore. I had this big sort of like chugging element that sort of
yeah.
reminded me of like when Fallen Dreams were good, like that sort of like that sort of era.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like do you remember that band Monsters?
Monsters.
That's a really cool like
I don't know
deathcore
that
band.
one. Oh,
And
all right. I need to do my homework on that.
And there was a band, I think oh fuck, what was that band that that Crafter guy was in? And they released an album and it was called Cancer. And I thought this was kind of where this was going. It's a sick. I should have written it down. Anyway, right. I thought I know what I was in for. I thought I was just on for some like bouncy, chuggy deathcore.
Yeah,
it was just going to be sort of very nice, and I was just gonna, just do this a lot. I thought it was going to be sort of refreshingly simplistic and bludgeoning, but oh my god, this thing has got layers, mate. This is such a brilliantly dark, hench deathcore record. Like I'm loving it, mate.
Mate, it's honestly, I think it's so much like classier than it even has any real right to be, isn't it? Like,
yes.
I was really like you. I was kind of ready for some proper like numbskull, down-tuned like deathcore. Based on I can't remember what single it was, but you sent me one of the singles, and I kind of was like, I think I sort of listened to it in the car while I was doing, I was trying to pay attention to what was going on, and I was just like, all right, cool. I know this is. I was kind of thinking in my head, like Salt Wound or that kind of thing, where it's like really sort of slam orientated deathcore, but then I wasn't really ready for something so sophisticated that was presented to me when I actually sat and listened to this album. Like, it's obviously got that like tremendously twangy guitar tone, which is just like chocolate to my ears, man. Like, I love hearing that. It's so nice, but it's also got like loads of layers. It's like, it's really atmospheric, but it's not atmospheric to the point where it's like style over substance. Like it's just kind of added in there to make everything kind of feel a bit more sort of claustrophobic rather than to like hide the fact that the songs are boring. Like, it's really, really well used.
Yeah, man. What I got from this was like, there's obviously this sort of big sort of gent injection. And also
absolutely.
What it massively, massively reminds me of is that Grave Bloom, Coma Witch era Acacia Strain. Like those just big, dirty, like hardcore by way of, or deathcore by way of gent. Like just the brilliant, just warm tones, but just so sort of bleak and just heavy as fuck, mate. I'm loving this thing. I'm loving it.
Dude. Big Grave Bloom era Acacia Strain vibes for sure. Also, kind of like Absolute Hope, Absolute Hell era Fit for an Autopsy. Like, it's not like as anthemic and kind of stadium level as Fit for an Autopsy, but like trying to expect a band to do that is unfair. Like, Fit for an Autopsy are like the top of the top of the top of the top of this sound. But like, even if you kind of dabble in what they do, you're onto a winner. And I really think that what is going on here with Depths is really exciting, and it's kind of like forward thinking and a bit retro at the same time, which I find really exciting. Obviously, we're going to get onto like retro deathcore. Don't you worry about it. But like, you've got a bit of that like kind of mid 2010s kind of sound, like a little bit of a when like Thy Art were popping off. I know or like Shadow of Intent and that kind of thing were all popping off. It's all that, but then with that like Heart of a Cowardly kind of gent but in 4/4 kind of thing, like it all really works. It all comes together really well. The vocal is this lovely, like really hefty, throaty kind of vibe for the most part. Like, he does have range. He's got quite a sick high as well, but for the most part, he's going for like a nice low, chunky style, and it works really, really well in the context of like a music that's quite in places quite fiddly. It sort of cuts through really nicely.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like, when if you're looking at the influences of like Meshuggah, Acacia Strain, and Fit for an Autopsy, like they're just beautiful words to be hearing. Like, when related to a modern deathcore record, this is just, it's got so much of things that I love about this kind of music, man. And the production job on it is absolutely gorgeous. Like you say, like the guitar tones are so warm, but there's this brilliant atmospheric inclusion where it's constantly got these little layers that give it this sort of grandeur. It's It's fantastic.
Yeah, dude. When you were listening through to it, when you first started listening to Neurosis, did you kind of go, is this going to be a cover of District of Misery by Oceano?
Yes.
It's just that really, honestly, it's about 3 seconds, but it sounds, it's so iconic sounding that I instantly was like, hang on a second. And then like the song just develops into something completely different. And it's really interesting. It's very much like depths. It's not like a cover or any. It doesn't even sound like it was influenced by Oceano, but it's just that very first little snippet. It goes dum dum, and I was like, oh blimey, what's going on? Like there's loads of really awesome stuff going on. Like Misery, I think Misery, where they really slam it hard. That sounds really, really cool. They've got the vocalist from Exile on there, who are another really good New Zealand band who are kind of more in a hardcore style, or they refer to themselves as Kiwi hardstyle, which I thought was pretty sick.
That's sick. Love it.
Very sick. I think probably if I'm looking at what's my favourite track on the record, I'd probably lean towards Bloodkeeper. Like I think that song is really exciting. It's got that riff with the like those like harmonic little moments in there, and then they kind of towards the end, like they really build it up into something like properly massive and anthemic, where they've got the kind of, I mean, they started like channeling almost Viscera vibes towards the tail end of that track, which I was really into. I was really like here for it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on Bloodkeeper. That's the sort of moment where, like, you know, they didn't just come here to put out a general like 5 out of 10 record.
Exactly.
This isn't a band like that are just at a point in their career where they're just putting out like a record to just appease like a release schedule. They're not just slopping it out. Like they've come to absolutely top the game. Like this,
dude.
The caliber of music on this record is so fucking sick, dude.
It's really cool that we're in a place with deathcore where bands can reach for greatness and they don't just have to sort of settle for, well, we're probably going to play like 500 cap venues for the rest of our lives. Like there is potential for deathcore to take you to really big places thanks to Lorna Shore and bands of that ilk that have gone out there and Fit for an Autopsy, for just to kind of put the genre back on the map again and make people excited about it. And I love that, it's one of those like the rising tide lifts all ships kind of situations, isn't it, where like the standard of the genre is generally higher, so all of the bands that you're listening to are better and stronger and more exciting, and just trying things and not being scared to like be anthemic and do this stuff. Like this band are really like, they're really killing it, and I'm very excited by the prospect of them. And I like to think, 5 albums in, they're obviously hard workers and they're obviously committed to what they do, and I'd love to see this really like do bits for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this just took me by surprise completely. I thought I knew what was in store for, but then it just gets so far above its station as the record goes on. It really does develop into something brilliant. This is like one of my favorite things I've heard all year.
Yeah, it's really fun, isn't it? I've loved it. Yeah, the band are called Depths and the album's called Obsolescence. You definitely want to be checking it out. It's very, very sick. Also, in the deathcore sphere, we've got a bit of a cheeky one. This landed in the old inbox, a band I had no idea even existed until the EP was in my inbox, which is a world I love to live in. Like it takes you back to like just sort of browsing, really like just discovering amazing stuff. The band are called The Killing of a Sacred Deer. They're a new band from Canada, from the mind of Coulter James, whose name you might know as the main member of Serration and World of Pleasure. This looks like a band who are a 5-piece, but everyone's keeping their identity a secret except Coulter. Like there's a promo pic of him and he's in the middle, and then there's 4 other people, but their faces are like painted through, which I thought was kind of strange.
The promo material says it is the 2 of them that are the band, right?
Oh, okay.
I think it's the 2 of them that are the band, pretty much, or that wrote it all.
That's cool. So maybe it's because of the guest spots. Maybe that's where the secret identity stuff is coming through. But anyway, the EP is called KSD. The band are named after the movie, which I've never seen before, but I have been keen because I've got a bit of a man crush on Barry Keoghan, so I think I need to be checking this movie out. I also really like Poor Things, which is I think the same director. So anyway, we're not here to talk about films. This is absolutely sick. This is like we're in a world where Psycho Frame have just made going back to the well of the early days of MySpace deathcore is like the coolest thing you could do ever. And you know, we went there with like with metalcore, where there was so much cool like revivalist metalcore coming out, and then maybe it might have got a bit carried away. But right now we are in the sweet spot with this old school deathcore stuff, and this is absolutely wicked. But the thing you've got is obviously Coulter's previous like outputs are all very much in that sort of chaotic metalcore world. So the result is you get this like combination of like the cleansing era Suicide Silence and like the Red Chord, but with like chambery kind of vibes going in as well, and then all topped off by a vocal performance that sounds like a junkyard dog who just saw a squirrel, man. Like it's so like ravenous, the vocal delivery, right?
Yeah, man. Everything about this record is confrontational, and
It
it's
is
so
so
endearing.
Literally,
It's
the second
so
it starts, it was like, like I think I broke my headphones listening to this EP, man. Seriously.
Yeah, this is absolutely brilliant. It's like, yeah, it's got psycho frame elements, but then it's got this brilliant sort of chaotic, like almost like veiny influence.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, definitely.
And we see that recently on the Trench record. I think people are just like picking up like Vane's lunch because they're not eating it, and I'm absolutely here for it, mate. Like, this is just
someone auctioned
double
Vane
R.
off for parts. Is that what's going on?
in it. Like, this is just double R deathcore shit. It's so fucking
hilarious.
jacked. It's got some brilliant like track titles in there. Mangled Flesh Cathedral is like, it's probably the hardest title track you'll hear that isn't on a Maggot Stomp released this year.
Absolutely. Also on 25.4 millimeters from Death. That's another one that I absolutely loved.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Really, you can sort of summarize exactly how the whole EP sounds by the breakdown at the end of the first song, which is this like really brilliant sort of dummy as fuck like beat down, but it's got this extra wonky little flair. It like perfectly blends the chaotic metalcore flourishes and the old school deathcore bludgeoning. It's an absolute treat for people that like intense heavy music, man.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. Like, I think with this kind of stuff, you've got to be careful that, you know, we've seen, like I said, we've seen what happened with the metalcore stuff. Like, it's like when we were talking about Foreign Hands, like, it's got to be Top Gun Maverick. It can't be Ghostbusters Afterlife, man. Like, it's got to be a labor of love, not a cash grab. Although it feels weird when you say cash grab because ain't nobody making any money off of this shit. But you know what I mean? Like, that deathcore money, stacking that paper. But you know what I mean? Like, you've really, like, I can really feel when I listen to this, like the love, like it feels, this isn't like, oh, let's string together some cliches and call it a day. This is the music that I grew up on, and I'm going to make something that takes everything that influenced me and gives it like my modern flair. Like, this must kind of feel how people who were well into thrash, and like, you know, the older generation who were well into their 90s thrash heard Power Trip for the first time, and they were just like, whoa, like this is a young band who sound like they came from back in my day. And like, this is kind of like where I'm at with this. Like, it's like, oh, this sounds like they actually came out in 2007. Like, this is just it's just,
these guys
immaculate.
loved the Doom EP.
Absolutely. Like, these guys based their entire world on the Doom EP, and so did I. Like,
so did me and all our mates.
This is like, oh, it just feels exciting. I just feel it takes me back to like when I was young and I was going to see like local shows and seeing like the local bands who were all just well into all the same music as me, just, you know, just doing it and just being excited about it. Like, 25.4 millimeters from Death, man. Like, I love how about 12 seconds into the song you're into a breakdown. Like, people are scared to start songs with breakdowns now. Sonny, this is if I was to run for Prime Minister, this would be my campaign, is starting every song with a breakdown. That is the rule. I'm going to make that the law. Every song must start with a breakdown. And
every interlude track will have a breakdown.
Interlude track will have a breakdown. Every song will end with a breakdown too. So when we go from one track to the next track, it's just one breakdown into a different breakdown. No, it's like,
and it'll be the same breakdown on every interlude but it'll be slower.
Half the time of the last one, or you will go to jail. Like, no,
The
it's
last
like-
track's going to take 20 minutes because the beatdown's so goddamn slow and chunky.
What's the Acacia Strain song? Is it AC 130 where it literally just the same breakdown, just slower and slower and slower until it's literally like it takes 5 minutes. Like it's a 25-minute track or so, isn't it? Like that's what I want. That's what the whole world should be, as far as I'm concerned. No,
Yeah.
I'm being silly, but like this EP is so fun. Like I love the track Devotion. I think that song is incredible, and also does it not make you think, God, Jess Nix is so cool, isn't she? She's such a
badass, dude. Her vocals on this sound so good, man.
I was thinking to myself, oh sorry, go
just
on.
need more mortality rate. Could we
Well,
just
this
have
is
some
exactly
more
it.
mortality rate, please?
I was thinking to myself, like, I want more mortality rate. And I went onto Spotify and I was like, what was the last thing that mortality rate put out? And I was like, oh my God, they released a single like at the end of August. And I put it on and they've been a victim of this like
Is
AI
it that thing
nonsense.
with the same picture that's on like loads of bands? I've seen
It's
this
not
weird
that
thing.
one. It's a different one, but there's a track. It's like an instrumental track. It's called Biggest War, and it's the most anime soundtrack load of bollocks I've ever heard in my life. It's definitely not an actual mortality rate song. And the last actual thing that they did was in 2022, but I just like... I mean, obviously, we've had World of Pleasure. Like, I love World of Pleasure as well. Actually, Coulter is the other member of World of Pleasure, so they've done stuff together. So I guess it makes sense that they collaborate. But she's like a perfect counterpoint in this track because she's got such a savage voice. Like she's probably the only person you could have got in who sounds more savage to go in and do a guest spot and like ramp it up even further in that track. Like she's incredible. That track is incredible. I get a bit of like Hate Era Thy Art on Heaven Progenitor. Like it's them pinch harmonics and that really like that reverse snare, that whack sound that he uses really reminds me of that kind of era, or like the first Fit for an Autopsy album and stuff like that.
And the track starts like a horror movie soundtrack. Yeah. It's got that little sort of intro bit, just getting you in the vibe. It's
the eerie, recorded 911 call type vibe that they've got going on, like that. Yeah. That's one of the things about this is like this EP is like it's just generally threatening. Like even like you were saying, like it's full on, but even when in the moments when it's not full on, like they're still making sure that it's really threatening and it's like it's menacing. Like you can't, even when you're not like being battered by riffs, you're being like emotionally battered. Like it doesn't let off. And I've had a lot of fun just rinse repeating this EP because it's quite short. You know, it's 7 tracks. It goes by really quickly, but I've had so much fun just letting it loop and just going through it and just having a great time. And like, don't even get me started on how the last track is called Intro. Like that's
what I wanted to say. I love this so much, and the last track is called Intro. It really hurt my brain the first time I saw it.
We both had to double check it, didn't we?
Didn't know if I was playing it out of order or whatever. But then it's like that in the promo pack that came over.
Yeah.
Like they've just, and it's not even like it's called. It's not like not got a name, or it's literally called Intro. Track 7 called Intro, and it's just like a massive long, like it's just a big breakdown, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, it's just a bit, which is,
track.
I mean, it's a sick way to end an EP, like a hard way to end an EP for sure.
When this actually comes out to streaming, I might like make it into a playlist and put it at the start just to see how that feels.
I don't think they'll let you.
No,
I think you'll get locked out of Spotify.
Yeah, it will immediately, like, my blue screen of death will just come up on my screen the second I try it, won't it, mate? That's what. Yeah, it's banned. It's absolutely banned. No, this EP is banging, man. This is banging. This is like when the first Psycho Frame EP, when I heard it, and I was just like, you know, like it just gives me that reaction. I know, like, there's other bands that have come out who are doing a similar thing who maybe you miss the mark a little bit, which is a shame, but this is not one of them, man. This is so good. Yeah. So good.
This is coming out on Wax Vessel as well, which is absolutely
I missed that.
sick.
Sorry.
Yeah, Wax Vessel, Psycho Frames on Wax Vessel. They are absolutely doing bits at Wax Vessel, so big up, mate. Love it.
Wax Vessel, the home of 2007 deathcore in 2024. Oh yeah. Yeah, the EP is called KSD. It's by the band The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Comes out on Friday. Make sure you check it out. get your flesh ton, get your ears stretched out really, really bloody big, dye your fringe black, and have a great time. Maybe
Get the dinner
a great
plates
big,
out,
like,
mate.
maybe get a great big like chest piece, like, you know, Mitch Lucker style. Rest in peace.
Yeah, get like a nice eagle up there or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, definitely get a throat eagle. You got, I think, the second you finish listening to these 2 records, you're going straight down a tattoo shop and getting an eagle tattooed on your throat. There's no way, no 2 ways about it.
Yeah, it's going to be like an eagle, but like a skeleton of an eagle. Right.
Oh, oh, edgy. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, mate. 2 ridiculously cool deathcore records. If you're a fan of heavy jams, it's like there's no way you're not going to find something to love in either of these records. What a week for deathcore, mate! What a phenomenal showing for the genre.
What a banger! Made me feel young again, and I loved it. I have loved it. Made me feel like, I don't know, made me feel relevant almost. Made me feel like it's been good. I was saying about how I've been feeling my mortality. Listening to these jabs has reminded me that I'm alive.